Dr. Lamb, is it recording on your end?
Says it is. It's
Okay,
flashing.
okay,
Yeah, it should be recording on my end.
okay.
Yeah, it gives me the option to pause or
Okay,
stop. So yeah, it's me.
just want to make sure.
It is me. It is me. Yeah. Um, from the time that I left home till I got here, those blackboard shells came in because it has blown up my inbox. So I'll have to go in and clean all that out and then do that. But that's a good thing. Keeps me out of trouble. Keeps me off the street. Oh, me. So we got 26 with us so far. I've still got about 2 minutes before our time.
Remember the shell that you looked at for me is the one that you and I worked on last summer because
Yeah.
that was more the direction you wanted.
Yep.
So that's
Yeah.
why I spoke up. I didn't know if you remembered that or not.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I was going to let Steve was supposed to be mentoring her, but she can use your shell. I know it's what I want. And
well, I think it'll be much more user friendly for her.
yeah. Yeah, I'll go in and copy it over later tonight and clean it up and get her ready for that one.
And then if she has any questions, they can reach out to me. I don't mind talking with them.
Yeah.
I won't overstep what Steve does,
Uh,
but I mean, I don't mind talking with them if they need me.
about that. Uh, I've got 7 o'clock. All right. So good evening. This is MELS 601 final town hall for the evening. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Do we have any of our 601 master students who will be going to 602? Okay, got there's Libby right there. I see her. Welcome, Libby. I'm going to go ahead and go over this for you to start with, and everybody needs to be listening. There's your man, Dr. Bullis, is with us now.
You've got
And
others,
so
Dr.
I'm
Lamb,
going to
too.
cover this first because it's going to be the same thing for everybody. Then I'm going to specifically talk to Libby and her group, and then I will talk to the 601 add-ons because your information is obviously going to be different. So I'm going to share my screen and get started. So what we look for, what we look at in the summer, somebody's trying to chat me up here. Okay. All right. So this is a blank one, but this basically is the summer schedule. So summer school starts the week of May 17th. Now, for the instructors who teach Monday and Tuesday nights, if they don't teach this week, you don't get the week of the 4th off. So let me make that clear again. If you don't have class this first week, if they decide, well, I teach on Monday and Tuesday, and I have the option of not teaching that first week because summer school officially doesn't start until the 19th. Now, I have got them permission to start on Monday or Tuesday if they want to, the 17th or the 18th. But if they don't take me up on that offer and don't have class that week, then you can't have this week with no class. And so it starts on May 17th and it ends on July 30th. It's supposed to end that Wednesday. I'm extending it to July 30th for my folks as well. Since none of you are completing this summer, I don't have a problem going all the way up to July the 30th. But it's over at that point. Now, as you can see, this is a very compacted time. And so to that end, we've made plans for all of you to try to get a jump on your summer work. And for you folks, for the master students, that's really trying to get started with your APTEL. Now, you all work in school and you know it's been a very, very tough time for the last year and a half. But this spring, you know that traditionally when May rolls around, that testing starts and remediation and all those things. You've you've got, if you can knock out the first couple tasks of the APTEL here, the next couple of weeks or so, you will, that will really help you on getting everything done that you need to get done this summer. There's a lot of content. You've got the APTEL to do. There's 4 tasks, but the content of those tasks is the issue with you folks having access to your colleagues and administrators. So let me close that and show you what I'm talking about with the APTEL. Now, add-on licensure people, just hang on with me. Y'all have already been through this. And so, overview of the 4 tasks of the app. You got to do your research on your best practices, but when you get to task 2, you've got to do a gap analysis and needs assessment. That's where you utilize either the walkthrough document for your district or the Marzano's checklist of high yield strategies, where you do some walkthroughs in some of your colleagues' classrooms. That may be an issue during test preparation or test time. So you need to understand that you're going to have to do that for task 2 of the APTEL. Now, we're not asking you to do walk through the whole staff. We're talking about 2 or 3 or 4. And then you will use the data from your administrators that they have from walkthroughs from the entire faculty to help set your professional development plan. What you're going to do is you're going to use walkthrough data to inform a professional development plan where you work, with your staff on best classroom teaching practices. But the biggie for you folks is that you need to understand that you got to do some walkthroughs, and that's kind of the whole key to the APTEL. If you can't do those walkthroughs, it's not going to go well for you. So you might as well go ahead and plan now that you got to get in either virtually or physically in 2 or 3 colleagues' classrooms this spring before there's not an opportunity to do that, because we all know school will be out, in June, early in June, and testing's coming up. So let's look at that template as well. Let me pull that one up.
Dr. Lamb, Dr. Hamilton may can answer this. I know that it's been passed there in North Carolina. They're required to do 30 days of summer enrichment or something of some kind, or either 150 hours. Is that correct, Dr. Hamilton?
Correct. Yes.
So that would be an opportunity to get this done during those required times as well.
Yes, that's summer learning. Correct. Yes.
And so task 2, using the checklist that was created or of Marzano, or using your school's walkthrough document, you're going to need to do some walkthroughs. And so if you wait till summer school, I was in on that DPI state board where they talked about summer school this summer. Dr. Hamilton, do you have any better information than I have on when that's going to start?
For us, it's starting the 2nd week in June. We're going to have a 6-week summer session, and it's going to, student attendance hours are 8 until 3:30 each day.
Okay,
it'll be 6 weeks, so it's going to be the whole summer.
Yeah, so pretty much everybody's going to have a summer program. You might want to talk to your administrators about that. They may want you to wait until then to do your walkthroughs during summer school. But if for whatever reason, if your school's not doing summer school, that won't be an option for you. Or, if you're talking about waiting pretty far in June, I mean, you'll still have time. You APTEL folks, you've got 4 tasks, you'll still have time, but it may be June before you can do your walkthroughs. But now don't depend on that. Make sure you ask your administrator, are we going to have summer school? Because I know
Dr. Lamb, yeah, and Dr. Hamilton made a good point there, alluded to it. Each district has the flexibility of starting those dates different. So it's really important that they reach out to their administrators to find out when that summer learning has been scheduled for their district.
Now, there was some discussion, again, now all I can do is attend the state board meetings and the DPI meetings, and I was in on one last week or week before where they talked about the summer money. But one of the things that was talked about too, my understanding is there's going to be $40 million appropriation. Then I heard 41, that they added another million. They were at 41. But some of the larger districts are claiming that it's going to be hard for them to do it for the kind of money they're talking about. They talked about the possibility that some of the schools would go together.
Mhm.
Some of the smaller schools, economy of scale kind of thing. So you better find out. Don't say, well, Dale said that we were going to have summer school. Yeah, everybody's going to have summer school, but it may not. There is a possibility that it might not be at your school. And especially if you're at some of the satellite campuses or virtual, or if you're in an alternative program, I don't know that those programs are going to have the money to, I don't know if they're going to be doing summer school. We've got a lot of folks that are in those situations. I don't know if charter schools are going to have summer school. I don't, you're going to need to ask. Don't say, well, I'm pretty busy right now. I'll worry about that this summer. And then your school doesn't end up having summer school. It won't go well for you. So you better find out as quickly as you can and make a plan now as to when you're going to get these walkthrough observations done. They're just 15-minute walkthroughs using the best practices checklist from Marzano or your district's walkthrough checklist document. Most of your district has one. They're all based off Marzano's high yield strategies. But you need to talk to your administrator now about and plan with them collaboratively when they would like for you to do this. Either, before testing window happens or after summer school happens. That's basically, you will not be allowed to you won't be able to do walkthroughs during the testing window. That would foul the administration of the test. That would not go well either. So make sure you know when you're going to do that. We've got a 10-week session. We're stretching it a couple days on either end to get it to 11. Your instructor who you've got will determine whether you're going to start that first week and then get the week of the 4th off again. It is not a holiday during that week, according to Gardner Webb's schedule. So if you don't start the first week, you will have to go to class the week of the 4th. So make sure you understand that is not a holiday.
And Dr. Lamb, for 602 students, because of the difference between the college schedule and a traditional school schedule, if you're at a traditional school, really and truly with Gardner Webb starting on June, basically the week of the 17th, that's going to be about 5 to 6 weeks into before summer school would start. So that's probably a little late for the requirements of the APTEL.
Yeah. It's going to shove you. If you wait till summer school, it's going to shove you to get done on time, because now all evidence work has to be done 2 weeks before the end of the semester. So you basically will have 4 weeks to do 4 tasks. So you really, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be tricky. But we will give you that option if you can't do them now, we'll give you that option, but know that it's going to be difficult. All right, any of you masters folks, Dr. Bullis, you're the guru here. What have I missed? Questions from the masters people about anything? Need to get 4 walkthroughs about next 2 weeks would be the safest bet. Yeah, 3 to 4. 4 is optimum. 3, I don't really like if you do less than 3. It's not that you're collecting enough data to be able to build your plan off of the little bit of walkthrough you do. It's that you need to learn how to do walkthroughs. You need to see how they work, because that will inform your plan. That experience of doing those walkthroughs is so critically important to developing your professional development plan. And let me remind you, and the folks that are with us here in 601 add-on, y'all need to hear this as well. that that APTEL is critical to you developing your OMA when you hit 603. It is APTEL task 1, 2, and 3 in their entirety, including that plan, is all of OMA task 2, a simple copy and paste. That's it. And so if you don't do a good job and if you don't know how to do walkthroughs and you don't get that opportunity, you're going to suffer in the APTEL, but you're going to suffer again in the OMA. It's the gift that keeps on giving. So if you don't get these walkthroughs done, you're going to take a whipping twice. That's just the way it works. Again, OMA task 2 is all of the APTELs task 1, 2, and 3. It's a straight copy and paste. Just take the labels from the APTEL off. What we're looking for is that process where you built that professional development plan. We've got to have that before you start trying to build a master schedule. Because that informs our master schedule. All this stuff is linked together. It's a pay me now or pay me later kind of thing. So does anybody else, I'll stop my share. Anybody else have any questions? You can unmute yourself. You can type it in the chat. Any of the masters folks have anything? I told you, I promised you I'd only keep you 15 minutes. So I'm right on my time on that. Libby, you got anything? You good?
I'm in kind of a different situation, which you guys know my situation when it comes to doing my clinical hours at my building. So to say that I'm not freaking out right now about being able to do classroom walkthroughs in the building that I work. I just am wondering if you could provide me with any tips on how I could maybe communicate with my administration about how important it is to do these classroom walkthroughs.
Well, you can share with them, the directions from the APTEL and that you're trying to build a professional development plan, and you need this experience to help you understand how to develop that plan. Now, it's true, you're going to use the walkthrough data that your administrative team, that will inform, the bulk of your plan, but you need that experience, how to do walkthroughs if you're going to start putting together professional development plans. You need that.
My mentor this semester, I'm not allowed to actually see the classroom walkthrough tool, but she showed it to me, but I'm not allowed to use it. So I'll probably just use the Marzano's checklist, since I'm not allowed to actually use the actual
It's the same thing.
Okay. I know I could tell that the topics and everything, and then the descriptors, every time she clicked on something, I could see that they are it's correlated. So
Yeah.
I'm going to make it work.
Yeah. I mean, it's the process of getting in there and seeing, how it works, there's no substitute for that experience. And that really helps inform you when you putting together that professional, that school-wide professional development plan. If you've gone in that classroom and done those walkthroughs and you've seen what it's supposed to look like in the classroom, whether it's happening or not, it will help you with your plan. Somebody asked, is this in the syllabus? All the materials that I've covered tonight is in your 601 shell. And I've got that pulled up. I think that's all the things I need to answer. So let me share my screen. Screen share. Under in your 601 master shell, down at the bottom where it says MELS 602 materials, all these things are right here. Your task, your prompt, your template, your helpful hints, all this stuff that we've talked about is in your helpful hints. Yes, it's in your 601 shell. That is correct. It would not be in your 601 syllabus. It would be in your 601 shell. It is there. I pulled it up because I knew somebody would ask me that question. So it's all there and just ready and waiting for you. And Dr. Bullis is an expert here. He can answer any of your questions on how to do the APTEL. you'll have him again next semester. You will slide right with him. And so he will help you bridge the gap from the app cell to the app tail. So he's sitting right here with you tonight. You got the best that you can have right here. There's not, the only thing that will change is you will roll instructors, but your coach will stay the same. Your evidences will stay the same. You got it right here in your shell. Now you might want to download this is 601 add-ons. You need to hear this too, and I'll remind you again later. You might want to copy all this stuff out of the shells. You know, after the spring semester is over, that Blackboard will be down for a whole week. Everything is always, they have to do maintenance in the spring and get ready for the new year. And so it'll go down for about a week. So if you need some of these materials, we've got them in there. You can just download them and save the files. But I can't help, the day after commencement on that Sunday, usually they take Blackboard down on Sunday. Sometimes they take it down on Saturday. And we hope to have it back up by the next weekend, because we teach classes on the weekend. Sometimes they'll wait. But most of the time they take it down that weekend, but they have to have it back up the next weekend because doctoral classes meet that next weekend. So, but it'll be down for anywhere between 4 and 6 days. So that's just a caution. That happens, the Saturday of that weekend of commencement, Blackboard will be down for a while. Just as a reminder. Other questions you have, Libby, using Marzano's checklist will be fine. It'll be a little difficult to do yours, but if you could work with them to find a way, I'm sure they'll find some way to accommodate you on that. They said they would.
Libby, you stay in touch, okay? And anybody who's got some specific things to deal with like that, just stay in touch with your coach, and we can help you progress through that next week or so.
Great, thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right.
everybody.
Good night, all of our 601 regular folks. You're done. 601 add-ons. Thank you for being patient while we were going through that. I want to share with you some things. Let me get out of this one. I'm going to pull up my shell, the 603 shell. Now, under 603, under week 14, I'm going to pull up Dr. Stedman's shell. Under week 14, here's his shell. Under week 14, you will find all the materials that you will need. Again, if you need to copy some of these, we've got the 4 case. There are 4 case studies, 4 in 603. They are very in depth. They require a presentation and a reflection, a PowerPoint from your group. You folks will use the same groups that you have this spring in MELS 601 add-on class. Your peer review group now becomes your case study group. That this is your bunch. You'll need to let your instructor know by the first night of the first class if you need an adjustment to your group. But that's the group that you will work your case studies with. There are 4 of them. They are very involved. You must collaboratively build a PowerPoint presentation. You will present in class. It is a big deal. You need to understand that the case studies aren't as simple as the ones you had in 601. You will have weekly discussion board activities. Now, we've condensed those into 6 for the summer to work around the case study weeks. So we've taken 16 weekly activities and condensed them into 6. And let me show you what those look like. They are rather involved. They are not read a chapter, write a paper kind of activities. They are very much coming and going, to and froing. And so you better plan on these.
No.
Was there a question? Or was somebody, okay. All right, so here are the things that you've got to do for your activities this summer. This is in addition to your evidence work, This is in addition to your reading. This is in addition to your case studies. So the first one is locate copies of your crisis plan, your school emergency plans. Find a copy of your school budget, and I will not accept, well, my principal said we don't make that public. Yes, you do. That's the law. Your crisis plan, your school improvement plan, and your school budget are all public documents. Once you read North Carolina General Statute 115C 288, you'll understand that. All of those are public documents. Do not take no for an answer. We must have those documents. You must get those before everybody goes, get regular years out and everybody goes on vacation. We're going to need those. Is there anything? List the 5 most important steps in school-based budgeting. You'll need to talk to your principal about that. Conduct the facilities walkthrough using the assessment inventory. We'll provide you that. That's for your facilities. All that's your first activity. That's a lot of stuff. You'll have the assessment inventory checklist is in your shell. You will have that to use that one. The second activity is interview an administrator concerning human resources practices. Probably need to talk to somebody in HR in your district. This is about position opening, job announcement, obtaining candidates, interviewing process, and hiring process for new employees. Inquire about services such as employee assistance, compensation plans, and benefits. And then determine how all that's done in your district. Then interview the chair of your intervention team. That would be SST, MTSS, care team, whatever it is. And then, outline the official 90-day process for MTSS. Talk about the interventions, then attend an IAP meeting. How'd that go? There's a lot of stuff to do here. This is coming and growing to and fro. This is not read a chapter, write a paper. 603 is about school operations. You can't read this out of a book. Yes, you have 2 textbooks, but this is the kind of stuff that's individualized to schools and districts. You need to go find it. Everybody's budget's not the same. Everybody's hiring process is not the same. Everybody's facility is not the same. We can give you overarching reading for each of these. There's a reading guide that goes with each of these in either the school law book or the school facilities book, resources book. But all this stuff is individual to your school and district. You need to find out how it works. MTSS doesn't work the same everywhere. Everybody's not the same place on the implementation, unfortunately. I mean, if it hadn't been for COVID, everything would have been implemented by this time, but it's not. There's been a delay in some districts. Some are only, at tier 1, some are at tier 2, some are all the way to tier 3, but that's individual to your district. Examine a policy on cyberbullying. Every district has a different policy on cyberbullying. Look at your district policy on harassment. Explain a complaint by a 10th grade claiming harassment by her male softball coach. What would you do according to your district? Interview an AP or other school disciplinarian. What are their biggest concerns about processing disciplinary instrument? What system of discipline do you use? Observe due process. That means the student being processed for a disciplinary instrument, and what surprised you the most. And then look at your field trip policy. Look at financial liability, look at negligence in terms of misfeasance, malfeasance, and non-feasance, the 3 standards of negligence. Look at that. So those are the things that you're going to be doing. You're going to be talking with your AP a lot, with your principal. You're going to be gathering documents together. There's a lot of stuff to do for summer. And this list, all this is under week 14 in your current shell. Under week 14 in your current shell, everything that I'm covering tonight. So all of your case studies are there. You can look at those a priori up front. You can look at your weekly discussion board activities. All of those things are in there. And then you've got 2 evidences due this summer. If that wasn't enough, you've got the OMA and the SCIP due this summer. The good thing about the OMA, as I've told you, is task 1's a bear, but task 2 is just a copy and paste from your APTEL, and then you build your schedule and write your competencies. So don't be scared about how much work you're having to do for task 1 of the OMA. It's about 90% of the whole thing. Once you get through that, you've got it whipped. And then the good thing about the skip is it's the same thing. Once you get through task 1 of the skip, task 2, it's pretty much done. I mean, they're very front loaded. So let's look at, we do have an OMA template. It is not like the templates you had for the AppSell and the AppTel. It is a skeletal template that just has the directions and it's formatted. We told you that, gradual release, that when you got to us, that your shell, here's your template, looks like the ones before. It has the directions for task 1, prompt 1, and then there's 2 prompts in task 1. Make sure you remember that. Don't miss the second prompt. And then task 2, task 3, and task 4. Again, it's just, this is the template. It's just the directions. We do not put any example. Now, what we do give you, we give you some examples. We give you a template, we give you the task and prompts, and we give you an example. But you need to get started on gathering up all the OMA task 1 is a scavenger hunt. It's pulling everything that you can think about. It's finding your duty roster, your supervision schedule, your master schedule, your budget, finding out what part your school improvement team plays in developing that budget. So if we look at the prompts for OMA task 1, don't forget that second part of OMA task 1. Too many students miss that part. So when we start, we're going to do an internal and external context. Here's our prompt for task 1 of the OMA. This last box down here is the one everybody missed. Clearly describes the school's budgeting process and procedures. Within this description, participation of school personnel and the school improvement team is delineated. So every spring when the budget process starts at your school, what part does your school improvement plan or team play in developing that budget? You can just tell me. The principal does it themselves. They don't involve the school improvement team. That's fine. It's not a best practice, but that's fine. But you need to know how it works at your school. The department chairs, do they send out something? What do you need? You need to know how the budget is formulated at your school. But so that's the part that everybody misses. And that requires you talking with your school principal. All right. So for task 1, prompt 1 of the OMA, you got to do a contextual analysis. And so that's your handbooks, your rosters, your schedules, all those kinds of things. You have to do a complete audit of all of your special populations programs, and that means EC 504, exceptional English as second language, Title I, any of your special federal programs. You got to audit them in terms of what what they're supposed to get and what they get. You have to do that in this one. Everything in terms of your internal context, that's everything on your state report card: attendance, discipline, your academic achievement, teacher preparation, teacher quality. Everything that's on your state report card goes into this as well. So it's a lot of stuff. It's all of your faculty handbook. It's all of it's your duty roster. That's during the day, bus duty, car duty, supervision schedule for afternoon activities. It's your master schedule of all your courses. You got to pull all this stuff together. You need to get started on that now because it's a lot of stuff. And you got to audit all of your federal programs. This is what we say we offer. We offer English as second language, and this is what we say we give them. And then you audit, this is what we actually give them. Because that's going to matter later on. Now, you say, well, Dale, that's going to take me 2 weeks. It will take you 2 weeks. But here's the good thing about it. You get to bleed that second week over into task 2, because task 2, all you have to do is take task 1, 2, and 3 that you currently are sitting on from the AppTel. Take all the AppTel labels off of them. Put these labels, and it's a simple copy and paste. it's less than 2 hours, task 2 is done. Then 3, building the schedule. I always, you got to do this assessment. Now, make sure you read the directions, and it says current scheduling procedures training. Don't just assess the schedule itself. Assess the process that got you that schedule. There's a process of how it's supposed to work. The rationale is federal law comes first. That's all your federal programs. That comes first in building a master schedule. Then all your state laws, then all your local policy, then EVOS, then teacher input. Goes that way always. And so you have to assess whether you're following that or not. And then all the other things here. And then don't forget to do the second prompt. That's when you develop a new schedule for your school. But sometimes people say, well, I work in CTE. Can I do a partial just for them? Yeah, we will allow that, especially in the summer. But you've got to propose a new master schedule, or at least a part of a master schedule, where you have used the rationale of you followed, and you got to tell us why you're proposing what you're proposing. Was it to better align with federal law, state law, local board policy, EVOS, what EVOS data is telling us, or teacher input? Now, you say, well, we have all 5 of those when we build the schedule. It's not important. It's not just important that you do have all 5 of those rationales in building a master schedule. It's important that they're in that order. And for the third time, I'm going to say it should go federal law, state law, local board policy, EVOS, teacher input, and in that order only. If you get that mixed up and you change the priority order of those, that's when you lose your house. We're going to talk a lot in 603 about making decisions or doing things that lead to you losing your house. You're playing for keeps now. You don't misspend federal or state money but one time. Then somebody else gets that opportunity. See, all this stuff has money tied to it. We're talking about the operations of the school now. Everything we're going to talk about this summer has money tied to it, has federal and state laws and local board policies tied to it. We're talking about operations, and you don't make that mistake but once. And so if you let teacher input overrule what federal law is, you can debate whether that's fair or not in the unemployment line. But remember, for the purposes of the MELS program, fair is a place you go in the fall of the year to get a corn dog and ride the Ferris wheel. There is no fair. That's an early adolescent concept. You hear that word a million times a day in middle school, but in adult language, there is no fair. So you got to understand that the whole point of taking 603 this summer is to keep you from losing your house. And then 4, you write your competencies. And so it's a jam-packed summer. You need to look carefully at the examples of all the stuff that they've included in OMA Task 1, and you'll say, Dale, some of these are ridiculously long. Do I have to have all this stuff? And I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, before you call or email, the answer is yes, you do. You need all the stuff that's in them. Right here is a Task 1 example. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. I like this one because it's very logical. This is Jeanette Naaman's. She was down in Johnston County, and she tells us all about her community, her external context. You say, well, Dale, where will I find this? You'll find it in your accreditation summary, the opening of your accreditation, where you found a lot of the information about your school profile. You'll find all this and about the external community, about your county and your community. Then you've got all this information about your teachers and your test scores. All this stuff comes off your state report card. Your school climate, your attendance and your discipline, your mission, your vision. Here are all the special populations. She's done an audit of all of them. LEP, all this is in Task 1. Attendance and retention, school-wide discipline profile, response to intervention that goes on at their school, MTSS, PLC, school structures. Here's the schedule. the school duty schedule, the lunch duty schedule, morning, this is duty rosters. Additional staff duties, this is your supervision schedules, all your club assignments. This is all out of your faculty handbook, school improvement team. Here they are, the staff handbook, student handbook. She did links to those. They're in her appendices. School budgeting process, she outlined it, and what part the school improvement team has in that, the school calendar master process, how it's developed, school improvement plan, success indicators, equity and transparency, teaching and learning master calendar, school improvement plan, references. And then here's the links to all of her appendices.
Dr. Lamb, they need to know that those boldface headings that Jeanette used throughout are vitally important.
Exactly.
They help the reviewer, the evaluator, everybody to easily recognize that you've got everything in there. So make sure you use those boldface headings throughout the OMA process.
Now I'm going to tell you, I am going to tell you, that one is 25 pages long. It's the shortest, best one that I could find. It's designed specifically for you folks who have OMA in the summer. Let me say that again. It's 25 pages long. That one task is 25, and it's the shortest one, best one I could find. Most of them are around 60 pages. Jeanette was very economical in putting hers together and direct to the point, and that's why it's a great example. But it's still 25 pages, folks. That's the best we can do. You know, you can't get all the information conveyed less than 25 pages. Yes, you will use all the stuff from last school year. That's a good question from Casey. Your school is you know, use everything from last year that's written out. Don't wait for something to get developed or something that's a temporary or was based on COVID. You use the last good stuff that you got. Because, you know, coming this year, we're going back to normal life again, looks like. Whether it's normal or not, it's immaterial. We're going to go back to normal life. So yes, you can use last year's, that's fine. But I'm going to tell you now, that 25 pages right there, that's condensed down from hundreds. I mean, traditionally, these are around 60 pages just for task one. But you can see it's a boatload of information. But you need all this information if you're going to develop, you know, if you're going to run a school and you're going to develop a master schedule of how your school runs, you got to have all this information. Because it informs all of your decisions about building that master schedule. And trust me, whoever builds the master schedule in your school runs the school. If that's the secretary, then the secretary is in charge. So you need to understand that the master schedule is how we run things.
But Dr. Lamb, they're in a good position in the summer to help recommend some implemented changes for the fall. So, I mean, they're in a good place to be able to look at some things that realistically could possibly happen when they go back in the fall.
And Dr. Stedman reminded me earlier when we were kind of doing a little pre-planning for this meeting tonight. Many of your schools, and I was going to have principals speak to that, our resident principals, our two that are with us tonight. The budget process and the master schedule process takes place in the spring of the year, and master sometimes even into the summer. And you could get an opportunity to sit in on some of these sessions, which would be very, very illustrative. Yeah, if Jamal is right, I mean, a lot of high schools, you know, they are a little bit further ahead, but due to COVID, some of them are kind of delayed. I understand, according when I was on DPI meeting, they were talking about that that there was a delay in doing those because they didn't know what the format was going to be. So But yeah, Dr. Crawford is exactly right. High school should be about done, but elementary and middle should still be in the process. Dr. Caton's with us tonight to talk about high schools. And so I'm going to turn it over to principals. I'll start with Dr. Caton for where they are in high school right now.
So good evening. For me, the process that we're at right now is of course, we've already done registration, and we had to do a lot of virtual registration for some of our students. What I'll do for our students is we have one-on-one counseling sessions with every single student to make sure that we are meeting the graduation needs for all of our students. So you'll see the counselors actually in the hallway pulling the kids out one at a time, so it's not a lot of disruption. So for us, I go before our superintendent and our assistant superintendents on Thursday. I'm taking my team with me to say, this is what I need allotment wise and why I need that many teaching positions. So that will happen on Thursday. A lot of groundwork has already happened for us, meaning that I've already decided we do a freshman academy. I also do a sophomore academy. Next year, we're implementing advanced honors pathway. I do AVID. So I have a lot of different tracks. So a lot of that has already been done, meaning that I've already pulled my data from EVOS to see what students need to go into freshman academy. I already have pulled my EVOS data to see who needs to go into our ACT classes because I want my bubble students to be in that. So there's lots of things that will happen during the summer as to cleanup, meaning that I will run the rosters that I have to make sure the students are placed where I've asked them to be placed. I do a lot of work, starting now. I'll be glad if anybody wants to talk with me or look or see. I have no problem with that. Just feel free to email me. I'll put my email address in the chat. And if you want to actually sit in and listen to what I actually do in an allotment meeting, I'll be glad to Zoom you in, whatever you want to do. I have no problem with that. Or if anybody wants to come visit, I am located in Pitt County, so it's a long ways away probably for some of you, but whatever you would like to do, we can do that. And if you would like to sit in on our summer school improvement plan meeting, we do that in 1st of August. I'm a very passionate person in that if you do a school improvement plan in October, November, it's too late, in my opinion. You need to have it done for a school year. It's the way I feel about things. And so that don't start anything. If you want to start something new, it's got to happen in the summer. So.
Thank you, Dr. Caton. Now, remembering looking at, if I've got it here, I do, looking at who's who and what this summer. Dr. Caton will be coaching this summer. She'll be with me. We'll be doing the regulars, but she will be available for all of you folks who in 603 add-on. She is available to talk with you because she's coached this semester. She knows what the process is and what you need. So she'll be available for any of our students in 603, whether they're regular or add-on. She'll be available for them. But she'll be with me again this summer. I want to get her that experience of teaching, of coaching the APTEL, so that she can be ready to take off on her own by the fall, hopefully. But yes, we're a lot's going on with schedule. Dr. Crawford, if you'd like to talk about where you are and where you are in the scheduling and budgeting process.
Sure. So it's actually, we are very delayed at the moment. That's because there's a lot of irons going on in the fire right now in the district. I would guess, based on where I normally am, about 3 weeks behind where I normally am. So the big pot of money that I'm looking for will be my school's Title I allotment. We are still trying to detangle ourselves from remote learning. And so we're trying to get parents to make decisions about whether or not they want to stay remote, or since we're not going to have the remote option at schools, whether or not they're going to go to the e-learning academy or come back to their home school. So we're still trying to untangle that. I was told that Title I allotments should go out the next couple of weeks, which, like I said, is a little bit late. And, you know, that will give me an initial layout of whether I can continue things from this year. I know there's one thing I want to add for the coming year, which is a communities and school specialist. That's going to cost about $45,000. Based on what I got last year, I can pull it off, but I'm not going to know that until I know exactly what the number is. We'll start looking at scheduling for the K4 folks, and right now we're looking at even summer programming based on House Bill 2. So, which is the state's, you know, let's try to catch kids up on learning from the basically year that they missed. So at the moment, I'm juggling the normal end of year nonsense on top of planning for the next, and I won't even look at my master schedule until I get my specialist allotment schedule, because I've got to build around that. That's one of the things that's unique about elementary schools. And then by then I'll have the end of year data depending on what they are going to do with it. Because right now we're supposed to be in the midst of roster verification, where you make sure you match kids with teachers so you can get correct EVAL scores. This year, I'll be honest with you, I want no part of it because I don't know if they come up with a calendar that would account for all the kids we moved because of remote learning. I'm one of 2 Spanish immersion schools in my district, and at one point during this fall, we had to combine schools to make sure the immersion program got up. So I am not looking forward to that. I was told that there's still discussions between the state superintendent, and I'm not sure if it's DPI or if it's the legislature about what they're going to do with this year's scores. If they don't officially count them and they use this as a baseline year, then great. We won't have to do roster verification, but if they decide to count them, then Lord help us all. So I got a couple plates in the air that I'm trying to keep flowing.
Yeah, and so you heard, thank you, Dr. Crawford. You heard Dr. Crawford say that everything hinges upon his federal programs. That's why we have to make sure when we schedule, your federal programs come first, because everything kind of falls in place after that. Then your state laws, and a lot of that has to do with funding and budgets and how much money's coming for those things. And then your local policy, how it's done at the local level. Then EVOS, you keep hearing EVOS. And then, you know, teacher input is in there, but it's last. But one of the things that we need to remember here as well along the way in this is that this is an unprecedented time, but there's still, the process is still much the same. Now, the debate that's going on is between the legislature and the state superintendent about whether the scores are going to count or not. And you understand that the legislature wants to count and the state superintendent doesn't. And so we'll see how that discussion goes. But regardless of whether it's COVID or online or whether it's virtual or whatever, there is a process to how you schedule a school. And if you get it, you know, if you get it twisted, as the kids would say, it will not go well for you. If you misspend money, you have to give it back, or the next person has to give it back. Whoever succeeds you will have to give it back. Because you don't misspend it but once. All right, Dr. Hamilton, your thoughts on this?
Well, I'll try not to add too much to all that because I agree with every bit of that. I am not in a Title I school, so I don't have those mitigating factors going on. We in our district, we just got our transfer, our voluntary transfer process is on a tiered system. So the most needy schools get their list first, and then they get to choose the teachers that they want to choose. And then since I would be considered the least needy of schools and least neediest of schools, I just got my list this morning. Because of redistricting last year, I lost 5 teachers. And so now this year I'm regaining some teachers. So I was able to today try to get some of those folks back, and because they were on my transfer list, so I was glad to be able to do that. But you have to think about that. You also have to think about the children who did not come to public school this year because of COVID, and parents made alternative decisions, and now they are deciding on whether or not they're going to return to public school next year. And many of them are, and we don't even know some of those that are returning at this point. So what's going to happen with that, and with whether or not our allocated positions are going to align with the needs that we have, and how that's going to then impact us maybe come August, when a lot of people realize that we are going to come back to school 5 days a week, and they're going to say, oh, we're not going to pay for private school again. We're going to send our children back now that we see that their plan is to go back 5 days a week, and then we're not going to have the staffing in place to handle that at that point. So that is going to be something that's really going to impact us. Another interesting thing that I just thought about today when I was with another principal, we've had a lot of devastating things happen in our district lately. And I was with another principal this afternoon going to a middle school to help with dismissal. Because of some things they've had going on at that school. So the principals are taking turns going and helping. And this principal I was riding with she is a Title I principal, and she was talking about all these things that are just coming her way at the last minute, because this is the time of year that, yes, we are planning for next year. We're budgeting for next year. We're trying to determine what we're going to be doing, but also this is the deadline for spending the money that you have for this year. So you have all this money that people are suddenly finding at central office that they didn't realize they had, and they are trying to spend money and they're spending it on things that maybe we wouldn't have had it been thought out a little better, been spent on. So as Adele Lamb would say, you don't want to have a solution looking for a problem. You need to know what your problems are, and you need to just go ahead and write it down on a piece of paper. These are my problems. If I had the money for X, this is what I want. So when it comes to that March 30, April 30 deadline, and somebody says, oh my gosh, you've got X amount of money, or we've got X amount of money we didn't realize we had, go ahead and have that written down on a piece of paper. Do not trust your memory for that. Just go ahead and have it written down on a piece of paper. Oh yes, this is what we need, and have that ready and prepared in advance.
That's great. That's great advice. We get into that every year, and it's happened more lately, is that all of a sudden people didn't tell you at the central office about the money that you had, or they held money back. And then you got like, I need you to spend this in a day, or I spent this. What I hated even worse is, I spent this for you. I thought you might need this. Don't think that wasn't what we paid you for. It's just like my position coach used to tell me all the time in college: don't use your head, follow the directions we gave you.
Please.
That's not what we paid you for.
And this principal that I was with today said their solutions just create new problems.
Exactly. It's a solution. It's a problem hunting a solution, or a solution hunting a problem. Excuse me. It's a solution hunting a problem. We think that this will help you. Well, that creates a whole nother level of problem. How am I going to use this? How am I going to divide this up? You know, one of the things that always comes in is you got 6 teachers and you got 5 things. What are you going to do now, hero? The 5 that got things aren't near as happy as the one that didn't is mad. That's the way it always works. That one would light you on fire if somebody loaned them a match. So those are the kinds of things that you get into. But if you have a priority list, and if you have a relationship and you tell folks at the central office, I've got a list of things, let me share it with you. If you're going to buy me something, these are the kinds of things that I would like to have. Don't replicate things that I've already got, or don't buy me stuff that I'm going to have to spend more time and effort and energy on. These are the kinds of things that I would need. You can share that with the folks at the central office as well that are in different departments that have control of these funds. But again, your federal law and your federal programs, that has to fall in there first. That's Title I, EC, exceptional, gifted, EC 504, all even CTE. All those fall into your special population program that are funded by federal dollars. Those have to fall in place, and then your state law is about not only just the length of the day, the modality, the amount of minutes, but the monies, the positions, teacher positions are allotted on the basis of enrollment. All those kinds of things come second, and then third, your district says we want 120 minutes a week in elementary school for reading. That schedule change might be from 90 from last year. They might want to do that. Those kinds of all those local things. The local things, we're going to do 4x4 rather than ABD schedule. All that's local. That's got to be factored in next. There's usually a sheet that says non-negotiables. I've probably got one around here somewhere from Guilford County that says these are the things you're going to meet. You're going to have this many minutes of instruction. All those things come next. Then your EVOS that tells you how to pair your students and your kids, and how to pair your teachers with courses. It not only tells you how to pair your what teachers to give what kids, but what teachers should be teaching what courses. Now, as somebody who was in physical mathematical sciences, everybody wanted to teach chemistry and physics when I was a teacher, because that was the best kids. But somebody had to teach idiot biology. That would be me. The new person, but maybe I'm good at that and maybe I'm not. And it's not about time, it's about talent. You don't always just assume the teacher's been there with you the longest teaches the most capable kids the best. Doesn't work that way. EVOS tells you who teaches what. Is using EVOS required? If your district does EVOS, then yes, that needs to be factored in. All North Carolina schools and most South Carolina schools use some kind of a value-added system. They use standardized scores, to inform principals of who ought to be teaching what and what kids. It's eeny, meeny, miny, mo is not a system. That's hope. That's not a plan. Using EVOS and standardized scores is a plan. That where you're trying to plan for success, to maximize your success. That's what you're trying to do here. You're trying to give the kids and the teachers the best chance to be successful. Now, I'm not telling you that all teachers will always be pleased. That's why teacher input comes after EVOS instead of before, because everybody thinks they can teach the best kids, the easiest kids or the brightest or the highest level. Everybody wants to teach them, but everybody doesn't get the best scores out of them. And so whatever process your district has that matches teachers with kids and teachers with courses, that has to come before teacher input. Teacher input's important, but it has to come last. In all of this process, it has to come last. If not, things will not go well for you. And so, again, Dr. Crawford just said, if you don't use EVOS to match teachers and courses and teachers and kids, you have to be able to justify that to the folks in the central office. They will not welcome that argument, by the way.
And I'll talk with Jenna. Jenna is in a very unique
Yeah,
situation,
yes.
and I'll talk with her I'll talk with you, Jenna.
Okay. All right. Our time is up. I've told you everything I know and some things I didn't. So don't give up the fight. Hang in there. As Bob Marley said, get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. So I will finish the semester strong, get started in the OMA. Don't let you control it. Don't let it control you. Task one, is a bear. And so that's all I have for the evening. If anybody would like the benediction that we haven't heard from tonight, I will open up the floor, but otherwise, I'm done. All right. We'll see y'all. So y'all will be in class again next Tuesday. Everybody have a good week. Good night.